The champagne hit his jacket before anyone in the room understood what was happening. Gerald Whitmore stood with the empty bottle still tilted in his hand. The liquid ran down Michael Jackson's white military jacket, over the gold epaulettes, soaking into the fabric along his left sleeve. It pooled at the cuff and dripped onto the marble floor of the Grand Imperial Ballroom at the Plaza Hotel. 200 people watched. Nobody moved, not because they were afraid of Whitmore, because Michael hadn't moved either. He looked at his sleeve. Then he looked up. No rage, no trembling lip, nothing theatrical. Just a very quiet question directed at the man standing in front of him. "Are you done?" Whitmore laughed, short and dismissive. The kind of laugh that says the other person doesn't quite matter enough to take seriously. Behind him, Edward Mercer, the attorney who had spent 30 years cleaning up after powerful men, did not laugh. His face had gone pale. Gerald Whitmore had just humiliated the only person whose signature could release $1 billion before midnight, and Michael Jackson had not signed a single page. 6 hours earlier, Michael had been somewhere entirely different. Harlem Children's Hospital didn't look like a place where important things happened. Narrow hallways, old paint. The music room had instruments repaired so many times that some of them held together mostly by habit. Michael came in without a camera crew, no publicist, no one to photograph him being generous. A group of children had gathered near the piano. They stood in a loose, uncertain cluster, some watching the doorway, some staring at the floor, none of them quite sure this was real. One boy stayed back from the others, Marcus Cole, 11 years old, 7 months into fighting leukemia, and it showed in the way he moved, carefully like he was rationing his energy. He'd wrapped a hospital blanket around his waist and was trying to moonwalk across the linoleum. He kept catching his left foot on his right. Michael sat down beside him without saying anything. He watched Marcus try again, saw the frustration settle across the kid's face and said, "You're pushing off the wrong foot." "You don't have to stand up," Michael said. "Like this." He moved just his feet, sitting in the chair, showing the weight shift slowly. Marcus watched. He tried it. Smoother this time, almost right. They worked through it without much conversation. The other children drifted away to do other things, the way children do when the novelty fades and the person in the room becomes just a person. At some point, Marcus asked, "Do powerful people actually keep their promises?" Michael didn't answer immediately. He looked toward the doorway for a moment. "The good ones do," he said. Before Michael left, Marcus reached out and grabbed his sleeve, quickly like he wasn't sure he had the right. "The arts center they're building. You think they'll really let kids like us go?" The American Prestige Project had been in every newspaper for months. Hotels, a concert arena, a film studio on the edge of Manhattan. Children from Harlem's hospitals appeared on nearly every brochure page. A performing arts center had been promised. Free instruments, lessons, scholarships. "I'm going to find out tonight," Michael told him. He meant it as a simple answer. It turned into something closer to a promise. The Plaza Hotel looked the way money looks when it wants to look like money. Crystal everywhere. An orchestra working through something no one was listening to. White linen, silver trays, and the particular atmosphere of a room where everyone has convinced themselves the evening matters. Gerald Whitmore stood at the center of it all. 61, silver-haired, and moving through the room like a man who hadn't experienced a real obstacle in 15 years. His wife Diana stood beside him, decorative by choice and formidable by nature. Michael arrived at 8. Whitmore crossed the room immediately, arms wide. "The final piece." "I came to review the terms," Michael said. Whitmore half turned toward the nearby investors, folding Michael's caution into the theater of the evening. Always the professional. Edward Mercer stood a few feet back, a black leather folder pressed against his chest. He did not smile. Michael looked at the architectural model near the stage. 3 hotels surrounding an arena, film studio, casino. "Where's the Arts Center?" Whitmore's smile went slightly fixed. "Incorporated into the broader plan." "Show me." Diana appeared with champagne. "Surely you didn't come to examine small buildings." "The small building is why I came." Whitmore walked him away from the crowd and opened a revised folder. The Performing Arts Center was gone. In its place, a private members club, marble spa, gambling rooms, Membership restricted to investors. Michael turned pages. No scholarships, no free lessons, no children's theater. You cut everything. Practical adjustments. You used those children. We used an effective campaign. Whitmore's voice was patient, the way a person sounds when they have already settled this with themselves. Their photographs worked. Approvals went through. That phase is done. Near the stage, a long table sat empty. Name cards at each place setting. Small printed cards, each with a child's name. The kids from Harlem, quietly uninvited. Their plates untouched. Where are they? This is a formal event. You invited them. I corrected the invitation. Michael set the folder down. Then you don't have a deal. Something moved through Whitmore's expression. Just briefly, a recalibration. He looked around the room he owned for the evening, and the confidence came back. You'll sign. What makes you certain? Because everyone signs when the number gets large enough. Michael placed the folder against Whitmore's chest and walked away. Mercer watched him go. He knew something Whitmore hadn't fully remembered. American prestige wasn't an empire yet. It was a structure sitting on three specific conditions: Michael's name, Michael's approval of the arena, and Michael's signature reaching the banks before midnight. Without him, the television network would withdraw. Without the network, the investors could terminate. Without the investors, the project was just a very expensive model on a table at the plaza. Dinner was served. Whitmore moved through the room louder as the hours passed, accepting congratulations for an agreement that hadn't been signed. Shortly after 11, he stepped onto the stage. The orchestra stopped. A spotlight found him. He spoke about vision, investment, a new New York. Then he extended one arm toward Michael's table with the ease of a man who had never been told no and meant it. No celebration would be complete without the man who will make our arena legendary. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jackson. 200 people turned and applauded. Michael didn't move. The applause slowed. Whitmore gestured, impatient. Come on, don't keep your partners waiting. I came as a business partner, Michael said, his voice carrying without effort. Not as entertainment. Uneasy laughter moved through the room. Whitmore came down from the stage. Diana placed an unopened bottle of champagne in his hand and said something quietly. He walked toward Michael and stopped directly in front of him. Expensive clothes don't change where someone comes from. Michael said nothing. Whitmore removed the cork, raised the bottle above the white jacket, asked one final time, Are you going to sign? Michael looked directly into his eyes. No. Whitmore tilted the bottle. The champagne came down in a single stream, and the room froze. Michael reached into his soaked jacket. Security moved. Whitmore stepped back. What Michael pulled out was a document, thick, unsigned. I came to find out whether your promises meant anything, he said. He looked at the empty children's table. Now I know. Mercer stepped forward. He couldn't stay quiet anymore. Richard, the financing conditions. Not now. 3 conditions. The attorney's voice was steady. Mr. Jackson must license his name and music, approve the arena as his opening residence, and his authorization must reach the banks before midnight. Whitmore looked at the clock. 41 minutes. An investor stood. You told us he'd already agreed. He agreed to review the proposal, Michael said. Another voice. What happens if the deadline passes? The financing expires, Mercer said. The network withdraws. The investment group can terminate. The room erupted. Michael set the unsigned document on the table beside the empty name cards. I'm not destroying the project. I'm removing the man who corrupted it. The vote took 9 minutes. Gerald Whitmore was removed as chairman and managing director of American Prestige, effective immediately. Diana had already left. She'd walked out while the ballots were still being counted. Whitmore watched her go without saying her name. 3 conditions before Michael would sign. The Arts Center restored, protected under an independent charitable trust no future chairman could dissolve. Its budget guaranteed before profits were distributed. Mercer had draft language for exactly this, written months earlier, hoping it would stay in the folder. He placed it on the table, 11 minutes before midnight. Michael signed. Near the ballroom doors, an old man named Samuel Brooks stepped into his path. He held a white towel, and his hands were shaking. Mr. Jackson, He couldn't quite look up. I saw what he was going to do. Before he poured it, I could have warned you. Michael waited. I need this job. Nothing defensive in it, just the bare fact. My granddaughter lives with us. My wife is sick. I stood there and said nothing. How old is she? 13. What does she want to be? His face changed slightly. A pianist. Real talent, her teacher says. But we can't afford lessons. Michael removed the watch from his wrist and held it out. I can't take that. She should study. This is worth more than I earn in a year. Then she can study for a year. Tears filled the old man's eyes. Michael closed his hands around the watch. Don't spend the rest of your life punishing yourself for one frightened moment, Michael said. Do something different with the next one. 6 months later, the Dreamhouse opened in Harlem. No casino, no private club, rehearsal rooms, classrooms, free instruments, and a small theater that smelled like new wood and the particular nervousness of a first day. Michael arrived in a simple black jacket and walked past the photographers. Marcus Cole was backstage in a dark suit that fit him properly. The leukemia hadn't gone anywhere, but he was having better months. He was about to perform in front of an audience for the first time, and he looked like he might be sick. I can't go out there, he said. What's stopping you? What if they don't like it? Then they don't like it, Michael said. Your feet don't need their permission to move. Marcus looked at him, then at the curtain. Are you coming with me? I'll be in the front row. Same place I promised. Marcus pulled the curtain back and walked out. The audience applauded before he even reached center stage. At the piano, Samuel's granddaughter found her first chord. The watch had covered 6 months of daily lessons. Marcus began to move. His feet found the same weight shift Michael had shown him in a hospital chair 7 months ago. Slowly at first, then with more confidence, then with something entirely his own. Michael watched from the front row and said nothing. Some nights you sit down, keep the promise you made, and let the thing you protected speak for itself. Outside, Gerald Whitmore's name had been removed from every door. Inside, the Dreamhouse was exactly what it had been promised to be.